The evening of the Starlight Foundation Gala should have been a celebration. Amelia had always loved the gala, an annual tradition where the elite came together under the bright lights to raise funds for the community. For years it had been a night full of promise. But this year, the promise was shattered by a single text message. It was a blurry photo, sent by her sister Chloe with a single line that felt like a punch to the gut. "I'm so sorry. Ames." The photo showed Ethan, her husband, in an embrace with his young marketing prodigy, Isabella Vance. He smiled as though the world revolved around them, his arm wrapped around her waist in a way that made Amelia's heart sink. That smile, once reserved for her, was now aimed at someone else, and the betrayal hit harder than anything she had ever imagined. Amelia stood frozen for a moment, staring at the phone in her hand. A wave of shock gave way to a sudden, overwhelming clarity. For months, she had sensed the growing distance between them. The empty nights spent alone in their penthouse, the increasing frequency of Ethan's business trips, and the quiet disregard he showed her. But this photo, this was the final confirmation. Ethan had been hiding something, and the cruelest part was that he hadn't even bothered to hide it well. The floodgates opened, and tears fell freely. But amidst the tears, a spark of determination ignited inside her. She wasn't going to break, not today. Amelia wiped her eyes, stood tall, and walked to the closet. She needed strength. She needed a plan. Amelia had married Ethan Blackwood 5 years ago. He was a self-made millionaire with a fire in his belly. His ambition was something she admired, and she believed it would propel them to a life full of success and happiness. They had everything anyone could want, a luxurious home, cars, clothes, and the social status that came with it. But as the years passed, she realized she had only one thing: Ethan's ambition. Their life together had become a carefully constructed illusion. Ethan worked tirelessly, always chasing the next deal, the next high-profile project. Amelia, once the woman he adored, had become nothing more than a fixture in his life, a symbol of his success. The love they once shared had been replaced by empty gestures, a kiss on the forehead before he left for work, a quick text saying he would be late. And then there was the silence. The silence that had become a constant companion in their home. It was in the walls, in the expensive furniture, in the pristine kitchen where no meals were ever cooked. It was the sound of a marriage on the brink of collapse. The final blow came 2 weeks ago when Amelia found out she was pregnant. Her heart had soared with joy and fear at the news. How could she tell a man who had become a stranger that their lives were about to change forever? How could she share the news of their baby when she wasn't even sure he cared about her anymore? She had planned to tell him at the gala, their anniversary. She had saved a beautiful emerald green dress for that moment, imagining how she would look in his eyes, hoping to rekindle the spark that had once ignited their love. But now that plan was gone. There would be no grand revelation. There would only be the cold truth. Ethan had promised Amelia that they would celebrate their anniversary, but the promise was as empty as everything else he had said. The night before the gala, he casually informed her that he wouldn't be attending with her. He was taking Isabella, his new marketing head, instead. "She's better at that stuff," he said with a shrug. Amelia had hoped for a different response, but deep down she knew. Ethan's words hit like a slap to the face, but it was the indifference that hurt the most. He had replaced her with someone younger, someone who seemed to understand him better, someone who was eager to climb the same ladder he was already on. And Amelia? She was just a rung beneath him, a memory of a time when love had seemed real. The text came after midnight, a whisper of betrayal that shattered everything. The photo from the gala was no longer just a piece of gossip. It was a mirror to the truth. Ethan's smile, directed at Isabella, was a stark reminder of everything she had lost. The man she had married was gone, replaced by someone she didn't recognize. As Amelia stood in front of the mirror, looking at the woman who had once been full of hope, she realized that her heart had been broken long before this night. The affair, the distance, the lies, it was all part of a much larger picture. Amelia had two choices: stay silent, wallow in the pain of betrayal, or take control of her life again. It wasn't an easy decision, but she knew what she had to do. With each passing moment, her resolve grew stronger. She had spent years living in the shadow of Ethan's world. Now it was time for her to step into the light. She knew she could never go back to the woman she had been, the one who silently suffered while her husband built his empire. She had to redefine her life, for herself, and for the child she was carrying. Her future would no longer be tied to Ethan's lies. That night, as she dressed for the gala, a quiet determination settled in her heart. She wasn't going to let him destroy her. She would show him that she was more than just a wife who had been abandoned. She was a woman with strength, with a future, and with dreams of her own. The gala was everything Amelia had imagined it would be. A sea of glittering gowns, flashing cameras and celebrities walking the red carpet. But this time it was different. She was no longer the woman standing in the background, waiting for her husband to notice her. She was the woman who walked in, head held high, a force to be reckoned with. When Ethan saw her, his jaw tightened. He hadn't expected her to show up. And when he saw her arm linked with the CEO of the foundation, his heart sank. Amelia had finally broken free of the chains he had wrapped around her. She wasn't his possession anymore. For the first time in years, Amelia felt alive. She had reclaimed her dignity, her strength, and her worth. Ethan's world, which had once revolved around him, was now crashing down around him. He tried to approach her, but Amelia turned her back and walked away. This was her moment. She wasn't going to let him ruin it. Amelia left the gala that night, not as the broken woman she had been before, but as someone who had found her strength. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but it was a road she would walk alone, strong, resilient, and ready for whatever came next. As she stepped into her future, she carried with her the love of her unborn child and the knowledge that she was enough. Ethan's betrayal had been the catalyst for her transformation, and she was ready to face the world on her own terms. This was her story now, one of empowerment, resilience, and the unwavering belief that she could rebuild her life from the ashes of the past.